To be honest, this is not the first tsunami we ever had. In a way, I was prepared, that something big is going to happen. It was something that I couldn't even imagine.
On March 11, 2011, a devastating tsunami hit Japan, washing away over 25 million tons of wreckage into the Pacific Ocean. The documentary, Lost and Found, follows filmmakers Nicolina Lanni and John Choi as they document the return of lost items to their original owners.
The thing that I've become best at is researching and access. So the thing I love most about sort of documentary filmmaking and telling stories is meeting those people and finding the best people to tell a story. And so when the first items started washing ashore, I decided to reach out and try to talk to the people who found them.
The idea for the film came from partner John Choi after a motorcycle washed ashore in British Columbia.
What I started realizing as I started talking to the people who were finding these objects was that there was a huge story to also the people here who were finding them. It wasn't just about this item washing ashore and what it meant for the people in Japan. That was a huge part of it, but it also became about what these things meant for the people here who were finding them.
Lanni and her partner started working on the film just over a year ago.
It was this really sort of slow process, because it's a West Coast story and we're situated in Toronto, it's not like we immediately had access to the people who were finding it. I didn't even know what we wanted to do at that point, so I was just trying to understand what was happening and who the big players were going to be. For us, everything changed when we met a man by the name of Curtis Ebbesmeyer.
25 million tons of garbage, does it mean anything to you? 20 million tons of debris is 7 times the weight of the BP oil spill. We have never had a chance to see a debris field come across an ocean from a major catastrophe.
So we go to Seattle, we meet Curtis, and Curtis was a game changer. Curtis introduced us to a community of people along the West Coast from Alaska to Hawaii to Washington to Oregon who are beachcombers. That is when our story really started to take shape, and when we realized this is something that we need to, invest ourselves in 100%, and we became a part of that beachcombing community.
We're on a 3-month countdown. There's no time for committee meetings. There is no time for white papers. There is no time for business as usual. You need to put boots on the ground.
What started as a film about lost objects and their story has now become something much more.
Lost and Found is really becoming about people and how we're all connected. And so, we have sort of 6 principal people in North America, and they've really become sort of our principal characters because they're finding lots of stuff. And so we've been following their journey in finding these items, in researching, maybe where these items came from, and finally tracing them back, and then bringing them back with us to Japan to give those items back.
We've been watching the ocean for a few weeks, just wondering what's out there, and someone saw a boat. Actually, the first person who saw it yelled whale. Very quickly we knew that it was something different.
Many of the beachcombers finding items washed ashore have a strong philosophy of finders keepers.
It seems strange to people who don't beachcomb or don't collect, but beachcombers are collectors. So if you're a collector, you'll understand the emotional attachment you have to the things that are yours. And John Anderson is one of those people who really loves every single item he finds.
I started beachcombing for glass floats with a friend. Been doing it since 1976. And my museum's up here. According to Kurt, there's going to be a lot of stuff yet to come in. Kurt has instilled in me that there's a story behind everything.
What the tsunami did was made him realize that, maybe this item might mean a little bit more to somebody else in the context of this story because they lost everything. So this is the only sort of, thing that connects them to their life that once was.
Lanni, who works on the Discovery Channel's investigation series Cold Blood, says her interest in people's stories comes from her 6 years as source reporter for TV Kojiko.
The love of interviewing and talking to people and hearing people's stories really came from the source. Like, it was a space and a family where I, honed in on just sitting and listening to people. Think about, God, we interviewed so many people for The Source. And it was just regular people's stories that were so interesting and so deserving to be told. And I think that's when I really realized I wanted to help be a voice for all of those stories that should be told.
With shooting scheduled to wrap in fall of 2013, Lost and Found captures the stories behind the objects found and the return of those personal items. Lanni and Choi look to release the documentary in the spring of 2014. In Niagara, you're watching The Source.
It's not just garbage, it's people's lives.